Everybody, welcome to the Huddle on the 813. You can remember to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, the 813, the 813.tv for the website. Benjamin Allbright, Jake Arians here with you, doing the Huddle as we do every week. How you doing, bud?
I'm good, brother. Better than last week. Still under the weather. You feeling better yet? Because whatever we got, I know what you got. I don't know if I had the same thing or not, but it's been kicking my ass a little bit.
It's been kicking my butt too. I did get out for the Broncos Raiders game this weekend. I was out there, on the sidelines for that or whatever. But it was a struggle, man. Like this stuff has been staying with me. So I hope you're feeling better. Hope you all out there are feeling better. And I'll put one foot in front of the other. We'll see if I get back to 100% by the end of the season. Broncos offense started hitting a little bit better, back to the way it was a couple weeks ago against the Bucs. Of course, it was against a depleted Raiders team. Max Crosby, high ankle sprain.
Though, baby.
Yeah. Pat Surtain, 100-yard pick six off a kick. I decided if I want to go with Gardner Pickshoe or Gardner Minshew. I haven't decided which way to go with that one yet, but the first of which sounds like some kind of sneeze, so I may go with the second one. We'll see. Overall, Broncos defense continues to look great. Offense continues to get better week by week, and all of a sudden this team's kind of looking up a little bit.
Dude, 3-2, 3 in a row, like rookie quarterback. I mean, you take any, this winning in this league is hard, man. You take anything you can get. Home game in the division, stepping on the throat of one of your big rivals. I mean, like, you got to be on cloud 9 in Bronco land this week. Like I said, 3 weeks in a row? I don't know how many of these we're going to see, but we've seen 3 in a row. I like what Sean's got going on. They're playing complementary football. When you have a defense like that, you got a rookie quarterback. He's turned it over at times, but he played better this week. Cortland Sutton becoming a thing again is nice to see. Like, he's out there making some plays. He looks like he's got a little bit of that I'm a badass receiver back. Like, he kind of lost that for a while. Like, I didn't see that in his body language. I like to see that. And they're running it a little bit. Like, it was good to see. I mean, they're definitely a thing, man. When your defense is that good, you're always a thing.
Yeah, and I think that is the thing. I think you've got a good enough defense that you can win games that sometimes you probably shouldn't. It puts you in positions you shouldn't, or it gives you leads that maybe you shouldn't have. But they're figuring it out bit by bit. We saw a little bit of, I don't know if you saw the clip, Sean Payton and Bo Nix arguing on the sideline rather animatedly, and it sort of flashed me back to last year a little bit when I saw Sean Payton going in on Russell Wilson, and Russ just stood there and took it. Bo Nix was chirping back and like explaining stuff right there. You can see Davis Webb, the quarterback coach, are all sitting there kind of animated or whatever. And then Bo Nix just walks off, and you could sort of see on Sean Payton as Bo walks off that like Sean was frustrated with something, whatever they'd been talking about, but he wasn't really frustrated with the person. And it kind of harkened me back, I think, to John Gruden and Rich Gannon. Seeing coaches and quarterbacks get into it, it can be a good thing. Two competitors being fiery about the moment can be a good thing.
Yeah, Sean would jump in your ass, which I love. But Bo felt strong in his convictions of what he saw, what he did on the play, to be able to chirp back. I loved it. I think it's great. I mean, you're talking about two guys that are going to squash that immediately as soon as they walk in the locker room, hug, whatever. We just won the game. Sean can say, okay, now we're watching the tape this week. Now let's go over this again, but let's do it less animated. And Bo can say, this is what I was trying to tell you that I saw. I loved it. Rookie quarterbacks normally melt when a Super Bowl winning Hall of Fame coach is yelling at you. He didn't. He was like, no, this is what I saw. This is what you told me it looked like. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I think that kind of stuff takes them a long way, and it really it speeds up the maturation process of Bo Nix when he has the balls to do that. Might as well. By the way, he got a C on his chest. All the other guys in that locker room saw him handle himself like that with the coach.
Yeah.
Like, certain teams, that doesn't go over well. That went a long way for a rookie quarterback in a locker room like that.
I think so too. I thought they're fascinating, the dynamic, and we've seen some spats on the sideline. It's funny how media plays some of that stuff up at times when in reality it's two fiery people disagreeing on what they saw in the moment and trying to get on the same page, in the heat of battle. And so I'm not too concerned about that. I think that ends up being a positive. I want to talk a little bit about your Bucs and Falcons. It was one of those things. It was a fun game to watch. If you throw away the outcome for a minute as a Bucs fan, fun game to watch if you love football. And good to see Drake London finally getting the usage. As much as I do like things that Arthur Smith does, he just didn't know how to use Drake London, or Drake London didn't get the usage that he deserved to get. It's good to see him getting that usage there with Zach Robinson in Atlanta. I love what Cohen is doing with Bucky Irving at the running back position there. They're at Tampa. Talk to me about your thoughts on this game.
I love to see Kyle Pitts getting involved with that offense as well, and kind of in the possession game. Not everything had to be a home run. I mean, Kirk Cousins kept going to him. We're going to have to throw out this narrative: Kirk Cousins can't play in primetime. That's twice this year. He's 2-0, come from behind victories. At the end of the day, the Bucs were banged up. They had to play this vanilla defense, which is not Todd Bowles, and they still had the game. Bucky Irvin is playing great. Tried to make a play as a rookie in a situation he didn't. Justin Simmons, a big-time All-Pro that we've talked about on the show a bunch of times, comes in and punches the ball out, makes a hell of a play, and they crap the game away. They get the interception. They can't do anything with it. They got a little conservative. The Falcons, Kirk Cousins was unbelievable. Threw for 500 yards. And the Bucs had this game in hand. Like, it's a bad loss on the road in the division. It's one that you're going to need later on for sure. I think it gives the Falcons a ton of confidence in what's going on with Kirk and that this offense is heading in the right direction, that they got playmakers. Bijan Robinson didn't do much in this game.
Right.
And he threw for 500 yards. Like, that's normally he's got 8 catches for 100 if you're going to get there with quarterback playing that well. And Kirk's not 100% yet, man. You can see it. Like, they're not running that under center, big, deep play action stuff that he ran in Minnesota. It's out of the gun.
Right.
And he's lighting people up, man. Kirk, we've talked about this. We both like him. He can play. He played great. The Bucs didn't have enough. I mean, Antoine Winfield being out for this defense is
really killing him. Yeah.
It's killing him. Like, you can't state it enough. Had the injury to linebacker, Dennis Early, and KJ Britt, who's really good in the run, is not as good in pass defense. Just a bad loss to be there on the road and have it in your hands and play that good and lose. But they're so banged up. It's just hard to take a lot away from it.
Yeah, one thing I will say, this kind of loss can galvanize a team, though. You took their best shot. They went for 500 on you in the air. You're on the road in prime time, and it still took the rookie coughing the ball up at the end of the game to even give them a shot, as far as that kind of stuff goes. I think on the one hand, it's a devastating loss, but on the other, it's one you can pick yourself up from and rally around, be like, look, we took them all 10 rounds, took every shot that they had. In the end, it took us slipping just for a second for them to get that final knockout blow in. We could take these guys when they come to our house, kind of thing. And so
the schedule does not lighten up.
Well, right.
I mean, that's like one of those like you had in your hands. You look ahead 4 or 5 weeks ago. Damn, that would have been nice to be 4-1 going into this stretch that they've got and getting some of these guys back. Hopefully, they got to get Gedeke back too, man. That right tackle is school is getting schooled. It's ugly.
That was noticeable as well in that one. I still like Tampa in that division. I think it's going to be one that they definitely regret dropping, but I'm hoping that will galvanize the team. Like I said, I'm hoping it'll be one of those losses like, man, we took everything that they had and it took dumb luck at the end. Come on, and see what that happens.
Dumb luck and a hell of a play. Like, I don't want to take away from the play that Justin Simmons made. Like, I mean, that was a rookie. Little less careless in a situation than he should have been, but Justin Simmons made an unbelievable play. That's an unbelievable player that I got a ton of respect for. So I want to make sure we don't think it's like just dumb luck. It was a hell of a play.
Right, absolutely, and I would never take anything away from Justin on this show. Justin's is a good phrase, good dude. So we kind of are living in the upside down a little bit with Kirk Cousins all of a sudden being great in primetime, but even more so with Sam Darnold being the quarterback that's 5-0 in the NFL right now. As the Vikings take on the Jets in London, I mispicked that. I picked the Jets in that one. I thought they'd bounce back from the loss against the Broncos. They'd go overseas. It'd be Sam Darnold would finally return to being Sam Darnold, and he did not. He didn't turn back into a pumpkin. He's still Sam Darnold. The Vikings are still rolling. They're playing great defense. The offense is hitting on all cylinders. I don't even know what to say. I thought the Vikings were not going to be the team that they are, and man, they've surprised me.
I took the Vikings just because the Jets offense still looks so discombobulated and what they have going on. It's just ugly. But dude, Brian Flores has got this defense rocking. And Aaron Rodgers I haven't seen Aaron Rodgers get beat up like that. He's normally, when he knows he's taking that much pressure, he's getting rid of the ball fast. It's not what he was taking shot after shot after shot. And they're running it okay. Darnold gets a massive shot early in the game. He kind of turned into a pumpkin in the second half, but they had enough to win the game. Man, they look freaking good. Like, they look good. They beat some good freaking team. Beat San Francisco. They beat this Jets team with that defense and put up 24. They beat Green Bay last week handily. I mean, that's one of those. That's not like we'll get to the Steelers. It's not like one of those teams that had a decent record with some wins, but like weren't any good. They look good.
Yeah, they do. They look like they're going to be a problem for people. And it's fun because, the NFC North has long just kind of sort of been the Packers division, and it's a competitive division now. I mean, you've got a Bears team that's kind of starting to ascend a little bit. You got a Lions team everybody knows about. The Packers are, of course, the Packers, and then you got the Vikings. And I love competitive divisions like that, man. I love that. I love when it gets feisty like that.
Absolutely. I mean, the Lions looked spectacular last week. We talked about them, but man, I can't wait for that first game. The Lions
Yeah.
Vikings.
Oh yeah. I need it. I need that. Hook it right up to me. Give me the IV. Put
Give
it
me
right
that in
there in my
prime time.
veins.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
something else you could give me more of was that Bengals Ravens game from yesterday. Man, they had everything you wanted in it and more. I was on the seat for every inch of it. I'm watching it on the TV while I'm there I was at the Broncos game, and I'm watching the overtime for this. Man, I don't even know some of those throws Lamar was making, and you're just like, good God, man! Like how do you make those kinds of plays?
Take Sam Hubbard and throw him down like a Ben Roethlisberger play. Like, I'm just bigger and stronger than you, but he's not. Sam Hubbard's way bigger than Lamar Jackson. Stiff arms him, falls down, calmly going out of bounds, throws it back across his body, which we all played quarterback and know you don't do, for an easy touchdown. And by the way, Joe Burrow throws for 5 touchdowns. Jamar Chase, pay the freaking man already. Quit being the damn bungles and pay him. Are the Bengals done, man? Like, by the way, I want to talk about for a second. Pat McAfee, thank God for the brand, talks about some of this stuff. Evan McPherson misses the game winner in overtime.
Right.
The holder drops the ball, pins it to the ground. Yes, he gets it up, but he misses the spot by like 3 inches, and it came up so late. From 53 yards, your margin of error is tiny anyway. I know people are pounding them from all over the place this year, and Evan McPherson's one of those guys. Dude, it was not on him. Like, that just was crappy timing for a slick ball to kind of come out of your hand. But then the freaking Ravens throw it to Derrick Henry, and then my boy Justin Tucker comes in and knocks down the game winner in the other direction. Are the Bengals done?
Well, they were telling me Justin Tucker was done last week, and now look, he comes in and nails a game winner there. I mean,
I said he was done from 50 plus. He's still the GOAT.
Well, fair. Okay, fair. Look, I mean, it feels that way. It sort of feels that way. It feels like the Bengals need a reset. And we all know. Look, I won't mince words. The Bengals are cheap. They're bleeping cheap, right? And they've hosed people over for years, and they're going to mess up the Chase and Higgins and everything else situation. But it feels like that they've reached like the ceiling of what they can accomplish with this roster as it is. And it feels like they just need to go back. Okay, we got Burrow. Let's rebuild around him. It kind of feels like that. And, it was funny because there were people that were, I got a text from my coach yesterday. He's like, bro, is Zach going to get fired before Doug? Like, there are people that think that Zach Taylor might, a guy who has brought the Bengals to heights that they have not been to before, could be on the verge of getting canned. So, I mean, it does sort of feel like they might be cooked.
I think Joe has too much power at this point. You paid the quarterback. I could see Joe saying, like, I'll hold out with Jamar and no, you're not firing my coach. And I don't know that they have the legs to stand on it against Joe at this point. I don't say that they're done because they still have those 2 massive D-line injuries. Both D tackles are out. They're both big-time players, Reader and I forget the other one. And their schedule lightens up for the next 4 or 5 weeks. And that division sucks right now. Like, nobody's run off with it. The Steelers are awful. The Browns are awful. You just went same thing with the Bucs. You just went toe-to-toe with the Ravens, and you should have won the game. You got them again in a couple weeks. I don't know that they're done, but, dude, they got to start winning some games. Because right now it looks like they're jinxed. And that defense – I love Lou Anarumo. This has nothing to do with the defensive staff. Like, they can coach. Right. They've proven that. But you got to have pieces, just like the Bucs. Like, you can only do so much when you don't have any of your guys, and you hope you could just outlast it. But man, this was like highlight film. They were. I mean, it's one of those quarterback duels you just pray for. And this game was so much fun to watch.
It was fun, and I've actually got that one queued up. So, but I'm going to rewatch it again tonight. Go back over a couple things I want to see. Cardinals, Niners. How about my Cards, man? How about your Cards, man? How about taking on the Niners and getting the dub?
Kyler was big time. I mean, Moody gets hurt. The kicker for the Niners massively impacted this game. They kicked the field goal right before the half, 23-0. They don't score in the second half.
Right.
Brock Purdy, who I love, and I don't think gets enough credit, was trying to do too much. Like, I don't know if it was missing McCaffrey, knowing that they had to score touchdowns, whatever it was. But the Niners have given up 2 10-point leads in the fourth quarter for losses this year. I still think they're going to be fine when they get their guys back. But, man, you can't keep salting away losing games that you've got won. Did it against the Rams when they were up big 24-7, and did it against the Cardinals in the division. Like, it's going to be hard to win the division with Seattle. They had a bad loss, but, like, they're playing good. The Rams are still hanging in there. And this Cardinals team's now 2-0 in the division. Man, they looked good. They looked
Yeah,
like
they
Kyler
did.
looks like he's back.
Drew
They
Petzing, I
didn't
think,
throw it
is
great, but he ran the crap out of it again.
he did. Yeah, he's all the way back. They've got to figure out a little bit of that passing game a little bit. It's more of the back shoulder stuff to Marvin Harrison because it feels like that stuff's working. They got to figure that out. But Drew Petzing, I think it's funny because you watch over the course of a game and the fan reaction to the offensive coordinator Drew Petzing, like it will start off where they'll hate him, then they'll love him for a minute, then they'll hate him again, then they'll love him. It's a roller coaster watching fan reaction to Petzing, who I think is going to get some head coach interviews this cycle. We'll see, kind of how that shakes out.
By the way,
but,
they
yeah,
outplayed the crap out of them in the first half, and they were down
yeah,
23-10.
yeah,
Like they
yeah.
they they kind of like had to come back and win this game, but they played better than the Niners for the majority of it. If you watch that game, like they were better. It's just the ball didn't bounce in their direction in the first half, and they kind of made it happen. The Niners, I still think they're one of the best teams in the league, but dude, like, is it really just getting a couple guys back?
Well, that's the thing. Okay, so they are a very talented football team, and obviously McCaffrey is a big part of what they do, and they don't have that right now. But Jordan Mason certainly filled in admirably. They've gotten
Yeah,
Randy Moss-like production out of Jawan there at the
Jawan
receiver
James.
position.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's baffling. Although I will say this, they've blown two late leads, and that's been the microcosm, the specter that has haunted Kyle Shanahan his entire career is that he blows leads. Everybody in the world's familiar with 28-3, but there's also the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, with Jimmy G. And and now you've got two of these. You've seen a couple of regular season games like that for whatever reason, Kyle Shanahan can't close out games. I love Kyle Shanahan as a coach. I think he's an innovative play designer. I think he's a great coach and all that kind of stuff. But for whatever reason, the specter of blowing leads is building and starting to haunt him. It's like Kirk Cousins can't play in primetime, right? Although we're seeing Kirk play fine in primetime now. It's you get these sort of narratives built up around you, and they become believable. They become part of who you are. And so I'm sort of interested to see how the Niners bounce back the rest of this year.
Especially when you're that talented on defense. Like you lost to Stafford, who's staying in the pocket beating you when you're up. And then you lose to I get why you can lose to Kyler that can make a 50-yard run for a touchdown. Not a lot of quarterbacks in the league that can do that. But you lost to two completely different guys in two completely different ways in the division on teams that shouldn't have been doing that when you're that talented on defense. Like it'll be interesting. Like they either flip a switch and get rolling, or they get a couple more injuries, and they're looking at being a wild card team at best. I still, like I said, I still think they're a top 5 team in the league, but like sooner or later, man, like they get a couple more bad breaks.
Yeah, I want to go back and look at the defense the last couple of weeks. I haven't had a chance to deep dive on that because I'm kind of wondering, like, did they make a mistake moving on from Steve Wilks? Like did they? I mean, at this point, when you're blowing leads, it's easy to say yeah, but there were other issues behind the scenes there. But did they make a mistake moving on from somewhere that had the defense humming, and not make it work? I don't know. One of the more interesting games I think this week was obviously the New York Giants and the Seattle Seahawks. We praised Ryan Grubb and said this guy's probably going to get head coach interviews in this next cycle. What were the Seahawks doing throwing the ball so much? Like Mike McDonald's a defensive head coach, and man, they just keep throwing it. And I'm like, this doesn't seem like something that a defensive head coach would certainly be doing. Giants come away with a win that I don't think a lot of people expected.
No, I mean I saw that advertised as an easy win for the Seahawks. Malik Neighbors out. Danny Dimes playing his ass off, man. 6 touchdowns, 1 pick in the last 4 games. Dayball coaching his ass off. That defense for the Giants is pretty good. Isaiah Simmons, not a great linebacker, not a great safety. Freak athlete, shows his freak athleticism, blocks the game-tying field goal with the old jump over the line, which I happen to love because Bobby Wagner did it to us when my dad was with the Cardinals. So I love that he did it in Seattle back to the Seahawks. But unbelievable play there. Huge win for the Giants, man. Like go all the way across the country. Nobody thinks you have a chance. Another guy stepped up because your quarterback played well and your coach played his ass, coached his ass off, and you played complimentary football. That's a big time win. It's one of those bad losses for a Seahawks team. They got away from their identity a little bit. I mean, Geno's leading the league in passing yards going into that game. He's 1,100. He's like 200 ahead of Mahomes. I don't know. Like they're still pretty good, and that offense could be ridiculous, but I think they're still finding their identity a little bit.
I think so too, and hats off, kudos to you because we've been talking about this. I think since the first show we did together was Danny Dimes. You kind of went to bat for him, and you're like, look, this guy needs the right situation, gets the offensive line, the protection, has the weapons to be able to throw to, and he didn't have the weapons to throw to, and he still made it work. I mean, I do believe in Coach Dable. I think he's a great coach. I just think that New York has. I think there's been some mismanagement with some of the personnel. I think they failed to build the right offensive line around them, and I think we're sort of seeing what he could be if you get the right setup and the familiarity and the right amount of protection. who knows? Maybe all those jokes about paying him over Saquon go away. I mean, not all of them, but certainly some of them
Yeah, not
will go
all of
away
them.
if he keeps
Not all of them.
keeps producing like that.
Yeah, by the way, no
Steve,
Singletary in that game either. Like their
yeah,
top
yeah,
two
no,
offensive weapons. Darius Slayton played great, has played great for
mhm,
them, and under the radar, like non-diva guy. I love. He's just a piece of the puzzle for them that just you
yeah,
don't deal with. And then Wanda Robinson has become an awesome piece. Little bitty guy, run after the catch. He's got some chemistry going. He stepped up big, had a touchdown in that game. I like what they got going on. It's going to be interesting. I mean, that's but Danny Dimes, man, like 2 years ago we saw it and they paid him.
mhm,
Like you had to
yep,
at that point. Last year he gets the injury. He tries to do too much sometimes when there's not enough. It was kind of like Brock Purdy in that game. Like there's just not enough
yeah.
going on. He puts it on him. He'll do too much because he is so freaking talented. But man, that was a big win.
It was, and Wandale's really adapted to kind of that Cole Beasley role in Brian Dable's offense, and I think he's probably one of the most underrated slot guys in the league right now with what it is that he's doing on a volume level. Steelers Cowboys last night, boy, oh god, it got off to the worst possible start with the delay, and then you turn around and you're watching this thing, and you're like, wow, this is setting offensive football back 25 years. I think the shine sort of fell off Justin Fields a little bit. I mean, he did have the 2 touchdowns, but there were a lot of misses there that were odd. Dak Prescott just couldn't seem to get going. TJ Watt was camped out on him most of the night. That game, it just felt weird to me. I mean, I had Dallas picked, and they did ultimately win it, but that game just felt like a very odd football game for both those teams.
The game was as ugly as the weather. I picked the Cowboys as my dog of the week. They're significantly more talented. Even they were missing pieces, right? They're missing a bunch. They had more guys go down. Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence
Yeah.
don't play in the game, and you're still that much better than the Steelers. They dominated the game. If Dak doesn't have 2 picks and a stupid fumble where he holds onto the ball, or they dominate the game. Justin Fields is not a thing, man. It's the same thing as Anthony Richardson. I don't know that Russell Wilson's any better, but the Steelers are on their way to being 3-2 and 500 like they're going to be every year. Until they figure this thing out. Like there is no the third stringer comes in. Kyle Allen slings one phenomenal pass on time to the tight end where the ball is supposed to go, and you pull him back out. And yes, Fields played good after that and had the touchdown pass after that. But he's 500. He's like 13 of 25. Yeah, he runs around and makes some. It's just he's not a thing. Like he had wide open plays, and Chris Collinsworth did a great job of showing it. Yeah, here's some stuff on schedule that he throws 8-yard little hitch curl. But here's a play action, 25-yard shot to a guy that's coming open that you have to anticipate a little bit, looking right at him, and you don't throw it. And then you throw in a double coverage bomb. That's just him. He's been in the league too long now. This is who he is.
Yeah.
It's not a rookie. It's not Anthony Richardson who's only had 15, 16 starts, whatever it is. He's just not a thing, man. I've never seen somebody get so much hype for not being he doesn't play the quarterback position, man. He's just not it. And I think they finally and Mike did it because, I'm not going to name him the starter because Russ is still not healthy with the calf and whatever. But they've got issues there, and they're not any good. Like that offense, the Cowboys can't stop the run, and you don't run the ball.
Right.
And the Cowboys can't run it, and they run it down your throat, basically.
Right.
And Dak throws for 330. Like it was significant, and Dak was awful last night for most of it.
Yeah.
And still throws for 330. But when it came down to win the freaking game, the Cowboys went down and made it happen. But man, dude, it's literally, we'll get to it in a minute. It's my worst thing I saw this week was that freaking game.
Well, that's your segue right there. I wanted to go with it.
Pieces of that game.
Go with the worst thing you saw. I mean, yeah, it had to be. I mean, that to me, it was that game. It was the offenses on both, the defenses on both. The way you attack either team. It was almost like these guys had anti-scouting reports on each other and were trying to play the opposite.
Mike McCarthy's time management again at the end of the game. The timeouts, you don't have to take them. Don't leave the Steelers time on the freaking clock. You think you're going to score, but you have to do it. They got lucky that the Steelers had to call that timeout. They got lucky that dude fumbled. That Dowdle was going in and fumbled. By the way, unbelievable play by the linebacker comes in. Then Dak dives on the ball and they score. The other thing I thought was the worst thing I saw this week, CeeDee Lamb, you hold out of camp, you get paid, you play like shit 2 weeks ago. Like absolutely awful. Michael Irvin's talking about should you be wearing the 88. And then last night you come off on Sunday Night Football, MFing your quarterback to his face on camera. Like there's diva receivers, and then there's that bullshit that just splits a locker room. By the way, you just got paid.
Yeah.
But the quarterback ain't going anywhere.
He just got paid too.
Right. But if they're trading one, it ain't Dak.
Right. Right.
if it becomes that big of a deal. Like, you cannot do that. You're not that good. Like, you have a ton of catches. Dak goes to you all the time, but like, you haven't been that guy this year. You can't
Mhm.
come off calling him freaking stupid or whatever it was that, reading lips, whatever it was. But like, you can't. That was the worst thing during the worst game I had to watch, was that crap with CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, and there, to a point, like, look, CeeDee Lamb is a very talented and very good receiver. But has
Yes.
CeeDee Lamb ever taken over a game? Like, ever? Has he ever taken over a game? Because I can't recall that ever happening.
Now when he
I've
threw it
seen
to
him have good
himself.
statistical. Well, I've seen
Yeah.
him. I've seen him have. I've seen him have good statistical games, but I'm like,
Yeah.
has he ever taken over a game? And I'm like, to me, that means you're the product. You are a good, you're a talented athlete. Don't get me wrong, but that also means you're probably the product of the quarterback in the system. If you're putting up big stat numbers, but I've never seen you take over anything. That's probably what that means. I'm with you on that. The last thing you want is a quarterback and a receiver chirping at each other in a primetime game. In front of everybody, when you're still struggling to get everything right, and your coaches are on the hot seat too. Because I mean, let's face it, Jerry Jones will get rid of his staff if they don't get what he wants this year, and they'll go hire Bill Belichick. So it's
Absolutely.
it's one of those things where I'm that's right up there with my worst. One of the best. I mean, we already talked about it a little bit. Cincinnati and Baltimore, man, that was just good football. It was. I know Cincinnati's missing players on defense. I know, but man, that was just fun football to watch. It was good. I'm a big fan of great defensive games that are low scoring as well. But man, that was just fun to watch.
There was great defensive plays. Marlon Humphrey had a couple phenomenal plays in that game. Like, there was some big time defensive plays. I had that as my best thing of the week too. And then, man, I got to watch CJ Stroud for the first time this year. Dude, I'm a big fan. Like, we need to have this talk because we haven't done it on our show yet. One thing I always do on my show is the best of all time and the greatest of all time. You
Yeah.
can't add quarterbacks. The greatest of all time is the Wins. It's Brady. It's Montana. Neither one of them are in the top 10 of the best of all time. And you can't have
Yeah.
that conversation without the Dan Marinos, even Jeff George. And I know you'll appreciate me throwing that in there. Spinning the football.
Uh-huh.
Like, Jeff George had his issues and he wasn't great. But you're talking about, if you put no faces, no names on the jerseys at a combine, Jeff George is the top 3 pick of all time
Right.
of spinning
Right.
the football.
Yes.
CJ Stroud can spin it, man.
Yeah.
He looks like he's throwing. Remember when we were junior high and your hand just got big enough and that ball, you practice with the high school ball, but the junior high ball is like, he looks like he's just got this little thing. He can just spin it. I love watching him play. He can freaking throw a football. I loved watching him last year. They finally are starting to play like they're capable of playing. That was a big time win. Want to give them props. But man, that's the first time I've had a chance to really sit down and watch a lot of a game. Dude, he is special throwing a football. Special.
He really is. And it highlights the misevaluation of him versus Bryce Young, I think, that everybody did prior to the draft, where people were, all over Bryce, and they were scouting the helmet with CJ with all the old Ohio State quarterbacks and all that kind of stuff. And I think it really highlights that. The worst thing for me came out of that same game. It was on the other side of the field. Josh Allen clearly banged his head when he went down there. It looked like a concussion. They're offering him smelling salts on the sideline. I think anybody else who's ever played have all had it. You've had it. When you've done it. If you're standing there and you don't know where you are, you're going to the wrong sideline. You got the arm seizing up, or you're vomiting, or you got the spot.
Yeah, my day was getting your bell rung.
But that's exactly it. That was a turn. Yeah, that's what coach is like. Coach like, you got your bell rung. Get back out there. Give me the slap on the butt. You're jogging back out there, and like, I don't even know where I am right now. Yeah, it's.
Exactly.
I mean, look, like, we saw it. Josh Allen clearly had a concussion. This concussion protocols are we're trying to make the game safer. That how are we missing stuff like that? That's so obvious.
And the other one was Justin Fields takes that shot last night.
Yeah.
And to his credit, he gets up and he wants to go. But they kind of shoot him off the field. Normally they're grabbing you and pulling you off the field. He was trying to stay in. Yeah, I think they ruined both of that. Let me ask you this. McDermott's taking a lot of shit. I love Sean McDermott. He's a great coach and a great dude, great human being. He's taking a lot of shit for the end of that game. Some of that on Joe Brady. They throw 3 passes. Houston had 3 timeouts. They got Ka'imi Fairbairn. By the way, shout out to Ka'imi Fairbairn, one of the best things I saw this week, too. 59-yarder, becomes the all-time leader in Houston Texans history points. That was a big-time kick to end that game. And what did you think about the end of that? They throw it 3 times. If you run it 3 times, they still call 3 timeouts. And then they don't have the one to call it. I don't know. I didn't hate what they were trying to do. I think they put Josh Allen's their Superman. I think they tried to put it on him to get him out of there.
Yeah, but he was not having the day where you do that. I mean, part of coaching is putting your guys in the best position to succeed. And by the math, bleeding the clock and taking away the timeouts is the best position to succeed. 3 kneel downs would have almost been preferable to at that point. I get what you're trying to do. I would have run it twice. I would have taken the shot on second down, and then I would have run it on third. I would have run first, taken the shot on second, and then run it on third if we didn't get that shot. Like that's how I would have done it. But I mean, yeah, I did feel like that was mismanagement. Certainly not the way I would have done it. My guess is they saw something I didn't. I'm hoping that's what the case may be.
I don't know that this game ends up any different, though. I still think Houston's got enough time to make one play, and if that's the case, they still have one timeout. Like I agree with you. I wouldn't have done it that way either. I'm just like, I love that Sean took it on himself. He's like, it's my fault.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't say anything about Joe Brady calling plays or his quarterback, whatever.
Well, that's just good leadership.
Yeah, I just want to throw that.
And we know. Right, Sean, and Sean's you're absolutely right. He's that dude. Like he's a good dude. He's a better dude than he is a head coach. He's a great head coach. Like that's the thing. If it's me though, yeah, we're running on first down. We're running boot with a fall to the ground on it if nobody's open. I am. There's so many end game scenarios in which I watch these days where I'm like, man, these coaches never played Madden a damn day in their life because half the end game strategy here is bleeding the clock down to a point where your opponent can't make these plays, or it's unlikely that they'll make these plays. And so many coaches just it feels like they mismanage end game situations.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy again last night. I mentioned it. That was, to me, I'm screaming. What are you doing? There's 52 seconds. You have 3 timeouts. Don't call timeout. Make the Steelers use their last timeout if you're going to do anything. But let that thing get down to 15 seconds when you run the last play. You're either getting in or not. But but they got lucky. They won. Who you got tonight?
I have the Chiefs. I went back and forth on this. I loved what the Saints were doing early, but Andy Reid with an extra day to prepare. I'm going with the Chiefs on that.
I'm going with Chiefs at home. I mean, it's tough. I think the Saints can keep it close. 5.5. I don't know. I think Kansas City probably covers, but man, this big game for the NFC South.
Mm-hmm.
With the Saints already losing the Falcons, the Bucs could have won that the other night. Like they're all going to be sitting there at 3-2 or 2-3 for the Saints. If they lose tonight, be interesting. It's by the way, I came up with an idea too for the Devontae Adams trade. What about the Bills?
Well, I talked to somebody. It's funny that you mentioned that. I talked to somebody who's kind of sort of plugged in there, and he was talking about that, and he was like, this would be a perfect fit, and for whatever reason, it doesn't feel like they're doing anything. Maybe they're moving in silence there, but it feels like that would be the perfect maneuver right now because you have Adams and you get Shakir opposite each other, and then you sprinkle in the rookie. Man, you got a little something there, with that trio. It just feels like
they look like they need a man beater.
Yeah.
Zone killer superstar.
Right.
And it's not a diva. Like I know he's asking for the trade and all that, and he wants out of Las Vegas, but he's not a diva guy. He's not Stephon Diggs. Like to me, I thought about that this morning. I'm like, man, I got to throw that out there because that to me, that's the perfect landing spot that nobody's really talking about. It's kind of under the radar.
Yeah, I'm totally with it. I wish they would do it. We'll kind of see how that shakes out. Any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
No, man. It's I think by next week. I think I was pretty spot on with the no preseason. Normally it's 4 weeks. Next week will be week 6. I think we start seeing some of these teams of who they really are. And there's a lot of parity, man. There's a lot of 500 teams that are going to win a couple games they probably shouldn't and get in the playoffs, and a couple good teams that lose a couple they shouldn't and not get in. It's going to be a fun year. There's a lot of good teams and a lot of good football. And I'm glad that we're in October and we started seeing some passing game. Because, man, September was rough to watch. Yeah.
Looking forward to the Commanders offense, man. It's fun to watch every week. Looking forward to seeing somebody get into it and kind of a boat race there, see what we can see. I'm looking forward to seeing some of those matchups down the stretch. All right. Well, hey, guys, stick around. You always like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Again, the 813.tv. You guys want to get the notifications on so you know when this podcast drops. We love having you. We love reading the comments you guys have as well. Looking forward to talking to you next week.